What if I told you that everything you've been taught about manifestation is built on a complete misunderstanding? What if the vision boards, the endless affirmations, and all those manifestation techniques you've been struggling with are actually preventing you from creating the life you desire? My friend, today I'm pulling back the curtain on Neville Goddard's actual teachings, the profound wisdom that most so-called manifestation experts have either completely misunderstood or deliberately kept from you. You see, Neville Goddard wasn't just another spiritual teacher. He was perhaps the most influential figure in the understanding of consciousness and manifestation in the 20th century. While others merely scratched the surface, Goddard dove into the depths of the mind and emerged with truths so powerful that they continue to transform lives decades after his passing. After immersing myself in Goddard's complete works for over 15 years, I discovered something shocking: the crucial elements of his teachings that nearly everyone misses, the very keys that unlock manifestation with an ease and speed that will astound you. Today, I'm going to reveal 3 major misconceptions about manifestation that have been holding you back. 3 fundamental misunderstandings that, once corrected, will completely transform your manifestation practice overnight. The wisdom I'm about to share with you isn't some repackaged law of attraction material. This is Neville Goddard's pure, undiluted teaching, the real secret behind manifestation that most modern teachers either don't understand or aren't sharing. Now, before we dive in, I want you to know something important. What you're about to learn might challenge everything you think you know about manifestation. It might even seem too simple at first, but I assure you within this simplicity lies a power so profound that it has transformed countless lives, and it will transform yours too if you apply it correctly. The first shocking truth about manifestation is that you've been taught to seek outside yourself what can only be found within. Listen carefully. Manifestation is not about attracting something external to you, it's about awakening to what already exists within your consciousness. Neville Goddard taught that your world, every person, circumstance and experience, is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. There is no separate world out there that you need to influence or attract from. The world you experience is merely the outward picture of your inward assumptions. The world, Goddard said, is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. This means that when you attempt to manifest something, you're not trying to get the universe to give you something new. You're simply aligning your conscious mind with what already exists in your consciousness. This revelation completely transforms how manifestation works. Instead of begging, pleading, or trying to convince some external force to grant your wishes, you simply need to assume the consciousness of already having what you desire, because once it exists in your consciousness as a reality, it must, by universal law, appear in your outer world. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change conditions, circumstances, and other people, never realizing that these are all reflections. They're trying to change the reflection in the mirror while ignoring the one casting the reflection. Here's where nearly everyone gets it wrong. They think manifestation is about doing something to get something. But Goddard teaches us that manifestation is about being something to express something that already exists within you. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, he taught, and your assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. This means that your job is not to figure out how your desire will come about, or to manipulate external circumstance. Your only job is to assume the consciousness, the feeling, of already having what you desire. This brings us to another profound truth that Goddard emphasized. Your consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, the entire time-space world that seems so solid and real, is merely a shadow, a reflection of states of consciousness. This might sound abstract, but its practical application is revolutionary. It means that if you want to change anything in your life, you must first change your consciousness, not through positive thinking or temporary affirmations, but through a fundamental shift in your concept of yourself and what's possible. Most manifestation teachings have you focusing on techniques, when the real secret is understanding the nature of consciousness itself. Goddard wasn't interested in giving people techniques to get things. He was revealing the very nature of reality and our place within it. The whole vast world is yourself pushed out, he declared. This means that there is no power outside of you that needs to be pleased, persuaded, or manipulated. The power is entirely within you, within your capacity to assume different states of consciousness. When you truly grasp this, you'll stop the exhausting work of trying to change things out there and instead focus on the one place where all change begins, within your own consciousness. The second shocking truth I'm going to reveal is about the nature of time itself and how Goddard's understanding of it completely transforms the manifestation process. But before I explain that, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to manifest something, the more elusive it seems to become? There's a reason for that, and understanding it will free you from the frustrating cycle of effort and disappointment that traps so many seekers. This understanding is what separates those who occasionally manifest small things from those who completely transform their reality with seeming ease. The second profound misconception that's been holding you back is the belief that manifestation requires constant repetition, that you need to keep affirming and visualizing repeatedly to make your desires materialize. Let me share with you what Neville Goddard actually taught about this and why it's radically different from what most manifestation gurus are telling you today. Goddard didn't teach endless repetition of affirmations or daily visualization practices. Instead, he revealed something far more powerful, the principle of living from the end. This isn't about repeatedly asking for something. It's about assuming the consciousness of already having received it. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled until your assumption has all the sensory vividness of reality, Goddard taught. You must imagine that you are already experiencing what you desire. That is, you must assume the feeling of the fulfillment of your desire until you are possessed by it, and this feeling crowds all other ideas out of your consciousness. You see the difference? It's not about how many times you repeat an affirmation or visualize a scene. It's about the intensity and reality of the feeling you generate within yourself, once, with complete conviction. Most people are taught to practice their visualizations morning and night, to repeat their affirmations hundreds of times a day. But Goddard taught that manifestation occurs in an instant, in that moment when you completely accept the reality of your desire in consciousness. He frequently shared the story of a man who desperately wanted to visit Barbados but had no money or means to do so. Instead of repeatedly affirming, "I am going to Barbados," or visualizing the trip over and over, the man followed Goddard's advice. He created a single vivid scene in his mind of lying in a hammock on his brother's lawn in Barbados. He felt the coolness of the breeze, heard the rustle of the palm trees, and filled himself with the feeling of already being there. He did this once, with complete emotional intensity, and then dropped it. Within a matter of days, a series of unexpected events unfolded, and within a few weeks, he found himself actually lying in that very hammock on his brother's lawn in Barbados, exactly as he had imagined. This is the essence of Goddard's teaching. Feeling is the secret, not repetition, not technique, but the depth of feeling that comes from complete acceptance of your desire is already fulfilled. When you truly understand this principle, you'll stop the exhausting practice of endless repetition and instead focus on the quality of your feeling state. One moment of complete acceptance in consciousness is worth more than years of half-hearted practice. The third devastating misconception about manifestation is perhaps the most pervasive in today's spiritual marketplace. The idea that manifestation requires positive thinking and maintaining high vibrations. Neville Goddard's teachings cut through this modern misunderstanding with razor-sharp clarity. He never spoke of vibrations or energetic frequencies. Instead, he focused on something far more fundamental, the power of assumption. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, he taught. This isn't about being perpetually positive or avoiding negative thoughts. It's about consciously choosing and embodying the state of consciousness that corresponds with your desire already being fulfilled. Goddard's approach wasn't about avoiding negativity. It was about understanding that consciousness is the only reality, and that by deliberately assuming the consciousness of your wish fulfilled, you bring that reality into being. This is the law of assumption, which is profoundly different from the commonly taught law of attraction. The law of attraction suggests that like attracts like, that positive thoughts attract positive outcomes. But the law of assumption goes much deeper, revealing that what you consciously assume to be true must, by natural law, be expressed in your reality. In practical terms, this means you don't need to monitor your thoughts or maintain high vibes throughout the day. Instead, you need only to consciously assume the state of having already received your desire, to live from that state as much as possible. One of the most powerful techniques Goddard taught for doing this was revision, a practice that's been completely misunderstood by modern manifestation teachers. Revision isn't about positive thinking or denying reality. It's about recognizing your power as a conscious creator to rewrite your experiences in imagination. If something unpleasant happens during your day, Goddard taught that you could revise it in your imagination before sleep. You would reimagine the event as you would have preferred it to unfold, feeling the satisfaction and relief of this new version. This isn't denial. It's conscious creation. For Goddard understood that imagination creates reality. And by revising events in imagination, you actually shift your consciousness, which must then be reflected in your future experiences. This practice isn't about toxic positivity or pretending problems don't exist. It's about exercising your divine power as a creator being to consciously select the states you wish to embody. I am all imagination, Goddard declared, and I must be where I am in imagination, for I am where I am in consciousness. This statement reveals the true power behind manifestation, not positive thinking, not high vibrations, but the deliberate assumption of the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. When you grasp this principle, manifestation ceases to be work. You no longer need to monitor your thoughts constantly or worry about your vibration. You simply need to choose the state you wish to embody, and then, through the power of feeling and imagination, assume that state as your present reality. Let me share a personal example that illustrates this principle perfectly. Years ago, I was struggling financially, barely able to make ends meet. I had been using conventional manifestation techniques, affirmations, vision boards, positive thinking, but my circumstances remained unchanged. Then I discovered Neville Goddard's teachings and understood what I had been doing wrong. Instead of constantly affirming future prosperity, I needed to assume the consciousness of already being financially abundant. I needed to live from that state in my imagination. So one night, as Goddard suggested, I created a scene that implied my financial freedom. I imagined opening my banking app and seeing a substantial balance, far more than I had ever possessed. But here's the crucial part. I didn't just visualize this scene. I felt the relief, the security, the freedom that would accompany such financial abundance. I felt it with such intensity that, for a moment, it became more real to me than my current circumstances. And then I fell asleep in that state, completely accepting it as my reality. Now let me bring together these three revolutionary insights from Neville Goddard's true teachings, the wisdom that's been hidden in plain sight, yet missed by so many, seeking manifestation mastery. First, we discovered that manifestation is not about attracting something external, but about awakening to what already exists within your consciousness. Your world is your consciousness, pushed out. There is no separate reality out there that you need to influence or change. Second, we unveiled the truth that manifestation doesn't require constant repetition of affirmations or visualizations. It requires living from the end, assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled with such intensity that it becomes your psychological reality. And third, we revealed that manifestation has nothing to do with maintaining positive thinking or high vibrations. It's about the conscious assumption of the state that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. These three revelations completely transform how you approach manifestation. No more exhausting techniques, no more fighting against reality, no more endless repetition of affirmations, just the pure, powerful practice of assuming the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Now, I want to give you a simple, practical exercise that embodies Neville Goddard's actual teaching, something you can try immediately to begin experiencing results. This exercise is called the ladder technique, and it was one of Goddard's most famous demonstrations of the power of consciousness. Here's how it works. Tonight, before you fall asleep, close your eyes and imagine yourself climbing a ladder. Feel the rungs in your hands. Feel your feet on the steps. Experience the sensation of climbing upward. Make it as vivid and real as possible in your imagination. Feel the naturalness of this action, as though you're actually doing it. Then allow yourself to fall asleep in this state. During the day, place sticky notes around your environment that say, "I will not climb a ladder." Look at these notes throughout the day, affirming consciously that you will not climb a ladder. What typically happens with this exercise is that within a few days, you'll find yourself in a situation where you need to climb a ladder, despite your conscious affirmations to the contrary. This simple experiment reveals the true power behind manifestation. What you impress upon your subconscious through feeling and imagination will express itself in your reality, regardless of your conscious thoughts or statements. Once you've experienced this with something as simple as climbing a ladder, you can apply the same principle to anything you wish to manifest. The key is to create a scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled, to experience it with all your senses in imagination, and to feel the naturalness of it being true. This is what Goddard meant when he said, "Feeling is the secret." It's not just about visualizing what you want, it's about feeling the reality of already having it, with such conviction that your body and emotions respond as though it were physically present. Now you might be wondering, if it's this simple, why haven't I been able to manifest my desires before? The answer is that most of us have been conditioned to place more faith in our physical senses than in our imagination. We believe what we can see, touch, and hear in the physical world, and discount what exists only in imagination. But Goddard taught that imagination is not fantasy, it is the very substance of reality. Imagination, he declared, creates reality. When you imagine something with feeling, you are actually experiencing reality on a different level, the causal level from which the physical world springs. Another common question is, how long will it take for my desire to manifest in the physical world? Goddard's answer was simple. It will take as long as it takes for your new assumption to become your predominant state. For some, this happens instantly. For others, it may take longer, especially if they bounce between states of consciousness, sometimes believing in their desire, other times doubting it. The key is persistence in your new assumption, not through effort or repetition, but through the calm knowledge that what is true in consciousness must eventually express itself in reality. As Goddard put it, you can create anything you want through the intensity of your imagination, sustained, controlled imagination. Some will object, but I've tried to believe I already have my desire, and it didn't work. To this, Goddard would respond that there's a crucial difference between intellectually affirming something and actually assuming the feeling state of its fulfillment. It's not about convincing yourself of something, it's about experiencing it as real in imagination, with all the feeling and sensory vividness that implies. Now that you understand what Neville Goddard really taught, you can stop wasting time on techniques that don't work. You can stop the endless affirmations, the vision boards, the rituals and practices that keep you locked in a state of wanting rather than a state of having. Instead, you can begin the simple yet profound practice of assuming the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. You can live from the end, experiencing in imagination the reality you desire to express, knowing with absolute conviction that what is true in consciousness must, by universal law, become true in your experience. This is the art of manifestation as Neville Goddard taught it, not as a technique to get things, but as an awakening to your true nature as a creator being. When you realize that your consciousness is the only reality and that the world must conform to your assumptions, you'll unlock manifestation abilities that seem miraculous to those who don't understand this principle. The choice is now yours. You can continue with the mainstream manifestation practices that keep you in a perpetual state of wanting and working, or you can embrace Goddard's revolutionary understanding and begin living from the state of fulfillment now. Remember his words, if you will assume your desire and live there as though it were true, no power on earth can stop it from becoming a fact. This isn't just a nice spiritual saying, it's the fundamental law by which reality operates. I invite you to test this for yourself. Choose one desire, something meaningful to you, and tonight, as you fall asleep, assume the feeling of that desire already being fulfilled. Experience it with all your senses. Feel the emotions that would accompany its fulfillment. Fall asleep in that state, and watch what happens in the days and weeks to come. And if you want to go deeper into Neville Goddard's actual teachings, free from modern misinterpretations and dilutions, make sure to subscribe to this channel. In my next video, I'll reveal Goddard's most powerful technique for instantly shifting your state of consciousness, a method so effective that many who have used it report manifestation times reduced from months to mere days or even hours. The true power of manifestation has always been within you. It was never about what you do, it was always about who you are in consciousness. Now armed with Goddard's actual teachings, you can stop doing and start being the person who already has everything you desire. Your world has no choice but to reflect this new reality.